If you look up the definition of mid, Outback from Siege is the first thing that pops up. Of course that's a joke, but Outback in my opinion is literally the mid of Siege. Whenever it comes up, I just have no emotion at all. I just don't care. Could be a good game, could be a shit game, it's just Outback. There's better and there's worse. Although I don't think many people like Outback. People usually say it's very unbalanced. I never really have a problem attacking or defending this map personally, but again, I'm in copper and bronze, so what do I know? Maybe it leans slightly on the defender side, but I would definitely say it's a lot more balanced and fun now than it used to be, back when it used to be an attacker-sided map. And overall, it really wasn't a good map back then in my opinion. I hated this map just as much as I hated Favela back in the day. So what actually changed on this map? Let's get into this video and take a look, because a lot more changed than you think, my friend. One thing that definitely didn't change on this map though is the outside. Mostly everything on the outside of the map has actually stayed the same, including the attacker spawn points. Now there have been some changes on the buildings, like windows changing position, doors changing position, and overall parts of the building changing outdoor layout. As all of the significant changes on the outdoors were next to the building though, I think instead I'll cover that outdoor stuff on their respective floors when we cover the interior of the building. But now I'll do a non-commentary run of the external parts of the map that didn't change too much. And whilst I'm doing that, let's take a listen to the music pieces for this map. This is a very rare instance where I absolutely love both versions of the music piece. I think I slightly prefer the original one though. Now let's cover the interior, and let's go through the back entrance. We can already see some difference here, as this breachable wall that leads into the red bedroom used to be more to the north. Not only that though, but if we go around the corner, we can see the door that leads to the red bedroom never used to exist. This used to be another breachable wall. Of course this bedroom did have a door in the original though, it just wasn't in this room. It used to be in the reptile hallway instead, pretty much opposite this window that we have now. Speaking of that window, it never actually used to exist in the original. Not that it never used to be breachable, it just straight up wasn't there. This window next to it was still here though, but it hasn't been breachable in either version. This window that looks into the east of the reptile hallway though did actually used to be breachable in the original, but it's not in the rework. Thank God too, because this window gave attackers a nasty line of sight. Last thing to talk about in the reptile hallway is the ceiling, starting off with the hatch at the west end of the hallway. This hatch has been there in both versions, but in the rework it's currently all the way to the west, whilst in the original it was further to the east. roughly in line with where the window currently is now. As for the ceiling itself, the east end of the hallway was always breachable in both versions, but pretty much this whole line of the hallway was actually breachable in the original. None of this is breachable in the rework now though. This definitely made it a lot harder for both sides to use this hallway in the original, especially with the defenders, considering the attackers could use that window as well. Now let's talk about the red bedroom, which used to be called the bushranger room. Other than the door changing place and the two breachable walls moving a bit, even more changed in this room. For a start, basically all of the props in here have changed position, including the bed itself, where nowadays it's against the south wall, but it used to be against the east wall. It can't exactly be against the east wall nowadays though, because that whole wall is now breachable. Only a tiny portion of this east wall that leads into the green bedroom used to be breachable, those actually being within its own room, that being the closet. The closet used to just be a small square room within the red bedroom and had those two breachable walls leading to the green bedroom. These are the two same breachable walls right here, and this area that I'm standing right here is where the closet used to be, because the closet no longer exists in the rework. It's now all just part of the red bedroom. As for other changes in the red bedroom, there never used to be a breachable wall here that led into the reptile corridor. This used to just be a brick wall. The kitchen part of the bedroom did exist in both versions, although it's a bit bigger in the rework. But there did used to be a bit more cover in it in the original, because the fridge was in a different place, so you could actually get on top of the cabinets and hide behind that. It didn't really matter though if attackers broke open that breachable wall, as they'd be able to easily see you wherever you're standing in the kitchen. Plus the ceiling above here was actually breachable in the original, whilst the kitchen part isn't breachable in the rework. With this, the breachable walls, and the door being moved, this made defending this room back then a pain in the ass. It's definitely a lot more fun to defend nowadays. There also used to be a bathroom hallway in the original for some reason, and this tiny room is the reason why the kitchen was smaller in the original. This tiny room just acted as a connector between the red bedroom and the bathroom, whilst nowadays you just have a door that leads directly to the bathroom. So the doors to the bathroom did actually used to be on the west wall, but now it's on the south. The bathroom has overall kept the same shape, but it did used to have this broken interior wall, which gave it a bit more cover in there. Now it looks a bit more open. Attacking through this window was a bit more of a pain as well, because of these walls either side of it. And speaking of that window, it used to be more in the middle of the bathroom wall, whilst now it's all the way to the east. The most notable change in this room though is the ceiling. There did actually used to be a hatch in the ceiling, closer to the green bedroom, and quite a bit of the ceiling did used to be breachable. In the rework though, this hatch is gone, and none of the ceiling is breachable in here. This definitely makes this room a lot easier to defend, despite it being more open now. As for the green bedroom, which used to be called the nature room, a few bits changed, but not as much as the red bedroom. A few of the irrelevant props moved around, and the bed used to be along the south wall, but is now against the east wall, and that east wall actually used to be breachable, but now it's just a brick wall. The kitchen part used to be bigger and more open, whilst now it's been separated into its own room, called the closet. I don't know why it's called a closet, it's clearly a kitchen. Now in the rework, we have a hatch in the kitchen here, whilst in the original we did not. Instead we actually had this weird ramp thing in the ceiling, and funnily enough, that is actually stairs. Yes, there did actually used to be stairs in the reptile hallway. Pretty crazy, huh? I know you're desperate to see where these stairs lead to, but let's be patient and come back to these stairs later. In the rework, these stairs are gone now, and there's a door here instead that leads outside. When I went through this door from outside, I was shocked to see where it led to be honest. Because I literally do not remember this door ever being here, but it literally is here currently in the rework. I've never used this door, never knew it existed. Like, honestly, I'm speechless. I've played this map so many times and I did not know this external door existed. That is pretty bonkers. Now if we turn around to look at the south wall in the rework, we can see this is breachable, and this wall leads into the motel reception. This wall though is actually solid in the original and it wasn't breachable at all. Other than that though, the motel reception didn't change at all. Like literally not even a single prop is out of place here. Now let's backtrack to the reptile hallway and go through this door to the kitchen hallway. We can already see a bit of difference here, as there's a door all the way at the end which didn't exist in the original. This door now leads to the restaurant lobby. This door did exist in the original too, but it was originally a double door and further to the south. It would be in what's known nowadays as the restaurant, so you wouldn't have been able to get a view from this door to the kitchen hallway. The restaurant lobby itself had even more door changes though. The exterior one to the north always existed, however, the double door on the east wall used to be all the way to the south, whilst nowadays it's more central. This window nowadays is where that double door used to be, and there never used to be a breachable window in this room in the original. Another thing that didn't exist in the original was this door on the south wall that leads back to the restaurant. This used to just be a brick wall, and it used to be more narrow around this part. It took me a while to figure out how this could be, but it seems like it's because the whole of the restaurant lobby was moved more north in rework, because even these doors that lead to the restaurant are roughly in the same place in the restaurant lobby, despite them being offset in the restaurant itself. Other than the stuff mentioned already, the restaurant itself didn't change too much. One thing that did change about it though, is that it's split into two different rooms in the rework, the north side being the shop, and the south side still being the restaurant. And in the original, this was all just a restaurant. So this doorway connecting the two rooms and this breachable wall next to it didn't exist in the original. So the restaurant was a lot more open in the original. The kitchen is another one of those rooms that had literally zero change across both versions. Even all the props from what I can see are still in the exact same place. But I did lie, because there was one change which was actually a pretty big change. This servant hatch used to be open, so you'd be able to get some really nasty angles through this, especially as the restaurant was more open in the original. This servant hatch is still here in the rework, but it's closed off now. On the other side of this kitchen wall is the mechanic shop. This is where the map starts changing quite a lot. For a start, this used to be called the compressor room, and it used to be a lot smaller in the original because the neighbouring room to it, the gear store, was merged into this room, and both were renamed into the mechanic shop. Pretty much all of the props have moved around in these rooms as well. The compressor room part, which is now the west side of the mechanic shop, used to actually have a door that led to the garage, but now it's been replaced by a window. This door used to be a lot further to the west as well than the window currently is. Then separating the compressor room from the gear store was a single door in the middle with two breachable walls either side. Compared to the original gear store, the east side of the mechanic shop completely changed dimensions. For a start, the gear store and compressor room south walls were in line with each other originally. This isn't the case here nowadays though. This east part of the mechanic shop was extended out quite a bit to the south, so the whole room is more of an L shape now. This means the bike repair lost quite a bit of space. We can see the difference here between both versions. Where I'm standing right now would have originally been in the bike repair, or what was then known as just the garage. The mechanic shop did also lose some space though to the east, because an extra room was added called the waiting room. This waiting room was originally in the gear store because the east wall of the gear store was an exterior wall. There used to be a breachable wall leading to the restaurant just next to the door. This breachable wall though is now just a solid wall. The door leading to the restaurant used to be in the gear store as well, or what would now be the mechanic shop, but it's now instead in the waiting room. The whole southeast part of the building did shrink as well, so the map is overall a bit smaller in the rework. We can see this just based on this door that leads back to the restaurant actually, because this door hasn't changed position at all, but there was originally a much bigger gap between the door and the exterior east wall. I did say that this part of the map got pretty bonkers. And final thing to talk about with the mechanic shop is that there's now a door in the south wall that leads straight to the bike repair. The gear store, which this room used to be, never had a door here, although there did used to be a breachable wall which led to the convenience store instead. This convenience store nowadays being a combination of the waiting room and the mechanic shop. And then there also used to be a door just next to this breachable wall that again led to the convenience store. The convenience store used to be a pretty big room, but of course as the map shrunk on the southeast side, the waiting room is pretty much all that's left of it. The crashed vehicle through the wall pretty much gives away that these two are the same room. This waiting room also has a breachable window, but there never used to be a breachable window in the convenience store. This breachable window is mostly in the same place as this closed off window. The convenience store had another room connected to it called the beer fridge. This was just a small room with a couple of breachable walls in, one that led to the garage, or which nowadays is the bike repair. It basically is the same wall as this one here, but this wall is now an external wall and it's not breachable anymore. The other breachable wall leads to the waiting room, so yes, the waiting room did exist in the original, but it's in a completely different place to where it is now in the rework. Where the waiting room was in the original is actually outside now, right here, because this external door that leads to the garage nowadays never used to exist. Instead, you would have to go through this window into the waiting room and then go through the door in the waiting room into the garage. The waiting room also had a door connecting straight to the convenience store. Here's a look at both exteriors from outside. Both are similar but still quite different because of the building in the rework being a bit smaller. And now to finally check out the last room of the first floor, the garage. And this one definitely did have some changes. This room was split into two different ones in the rework, that being the garage and the bike repair, whilst in the original it was just the garage. So it was overall a lot more open in the original. You have these rooms now split by a brick wall and two double doors, so it definitely makes chilling in these two rooms a bit more viable. It would also seem that the garage was shrunk on the south in the rework. We can tell that from the position of the stairs, as these stairs haven't moved at all, and these two wall door thingies, whatever. There were two of these in the original, with the further south one being breachable and the other one not, but in the rework there's only one of these now, and considering there's not enough space for a second one anymore, that shows that it was shrunk in the rework. Basically everything that changed in the bike repair we've already covered. Although here's a quick look out the window in the bike repair. We can see the outside stairs are pushed further to the south in the rework, and they're also closer to the window now. The reason for this change is to leave some space so the main balcony can connect to the west garage balcony, because in the original these balconies actually didn't connect together. The only way to actually access the west garage balcony in the original was to either jump off the roof onto it or use these props on the south side to get up to it. You can still use these props here in the rework, but the new extended balcony is just another option. This window leading to the upstairs of the garage used to be on the east wall, but now it's been moved to the north wall. Let's jump in here and see what the upstairs of the garage looks like. Oh yeah, it did change quite a bit up here. So I guess the main reason this window isn't on the east wall anymore is because it would just lead to a drop otherwise. Whilst the original did have a little bit less space to move around in the main part of the garage lounge, it did have two balconies either side connecting straight to the south exterior wall. This was a really cool design for the garage actually, and it's even cooler when you notice that this car can be used as a bridge to get from one side to the other. Now if we go to the main part of the garage lounge, we can see there's like literally no cover up here at all. Although this doesn't exactly need cover like the rework does, as there's no windows in this area. You can also see the office had an internal big window as well as the door. The window is completely gone in the rework now though, and the office door did move a bit. Nowadays it's basically where the window used to be, and the garage lounge did also lose a massive portion of it from the east side. Then the floor in the garage lounge was breachable, so you could see down into the garage underneath the garage lounge, which nowadays would be the bike repair. This floor isn't breachable at all in the rework though. In the rework, we had an alternate route from the garage to the garage lounge through this ladder here. This ladder though did not exist in the original. And finally, we have the window on the east side to check out, which did exist in the original, but it was all the way to the south, because of the balconies existing back then. There was so much more space space out here in the original to move around, because some of this area is now reserved for the garage lounge in the rework, and also the building was larger from the east side in the original. In the office itself, none of the props have actually moved around. Other than that window that we already mentioned, the only thing that changed is the breachable wall to the party room. Nowadays there's 4 breachable walls here, but in the original there were only 2, those being the 2 middle ones. The one all the way to the right was actually a door that connected the office to the party room, with the one to the left simply not existing because that was the boundary of the party room at the time. In the rework though, the party room actually got a bit bigger, so there was enough space to add an extra breachable wall in. A few of the props change positions in here, but they're not really worth getting into. The more interesting thing is the east side of the party room here not actually being part of the party room in the original, because this was actually reserved for a different room, this being the electrical room, and this doesn't exist in the rework. This room connects straight to the office supplies though, which does exist in the rework. So basically, to sum it up, this whole hallway was longer in the original because the east side of the party room was part of this hallway, and the entrance to this hallway was in the party hall instead of the party room. The external breachable walls in here never used to exist. This used to actually be a window instead, and the breachable walls would have been about here in the original. And then the breachable walls leading into the garage also didn't exist in the original because on the other side of this wall was just outside. Not being able to make a rotation here definitely made the office and party room harder to defend back then. The drone hole leading outside used to be in this wall as well. Whilst nowadays it's in the party room. The party hall here has a breachable wall that overlooks the shark stairs and mezzanine. This breachable wall wasn't a thing in the original though, and it was just a brick wall. Also, this part here was also part of the mezzanine, and party hall didn't exist. If we go to the mechanical bull area, we can see exactly how much the party room grew based on the hatch on the floor here, because nowadays that wall goes all the way up to the hatch, where there used to be a bit of a gap before. This of course means the mechanical bull area shrunk a bit in the rework, and it also lost a few cover pieces, those being these boxes next to the door, and this wall next to the window, both of which don't exist anymore. The bull itself also moved a bit more to the west, but it's not that noticeable. Noticeable? Yeah, anyway. Whilst the mezzanine didn't change too much, the one thing that did actually change about it made this map so much more balanced. That being this beautiful door right here. This door of course leading to the covered terrace, which never used to be covered in the original. In other words, it used to be outside, so defenders had less options for moving around the map. And also this door on the mezzanine didn't exist, it was just this window here, because this window did actually used to be breachable in the original. Funnily enough, the bench in here is actually the same one that was outdoors before in the terrace, although it's lacking the umbrella now. But I guess why would you actually need an umbrella indoors anyway? And now we start getting to the parts of the map that are very different once again. Going through this door into the piano room, we can already see quite a bit of difference because there's a freaking wall right in front of us. Then to the right of this door are some stairs. So yes, this is where the mystery stairs led to. They went from the reptile hallway up to the piano room, and you can overlook these stairs from that piano room door. This map really did not need 4 sets of stairs, so removing one of them was definitely a good call. And I think these ones did make the most sense to be removed. This room feels a lot nicer to defend now, instead of having attackers coming from you at every single angle. And removing all that unnecessary cover at the door certainly did help as well. One thing that's quite funny is that this stairs sign outside of the games room door exists in both versions of the map. this sign clearly referring to the stairs that were in the piano room that no longer exist. I guess this sign could be referring to the shark stairs instead now, but I like to think the devs just completely forgot to remove this sign. Just have it there as a little memory that there used to be stairs there. The games room was another one that saw basically no props change in position, although one of the breachable walls in here that exists in the rework didn't exist in the original, that being the one to the covered terrace. This was just a brick wall. Then the window to the south didn't exist either. It wasn't even boarded up or anything, it was just straight up not there. And wow, it looks so weird there just not being a window there, to be honest. This window and breachable wall not existing definitely made this room a bit easier to defend. And considering this used to be a bomb objective, that's certainly a good thing. If we head out of the games room, we'd be taken to a brick wall with the laundry room on the other side. In the original though, this was a whole hallway. So where is the laundry room? Well, the laundry room and motel hallway actually shifted positions between both versions. For instance, if we go back to the piano room, there's a door here which leads directly to the motel hallway. In the original though, this is a breachable wall which leads to the laundry room. So in the rework we have the laundry room in the middle, but in the original we have it connected right to the north wall, with the hallway wrapping around the laundry room. So what actually changed in the laundry room itself? Well, we still have this same cabinet in the middle of the room, but all of the perimeter props have moved around because of all the breachable walls and doors changing position. The door on the west wall never used to go straight to the dorms. It actually used to go to the motel hallway, and the door used to be all the way to the north of the west wall. There used to be a set of breachable walls along this west wall as well, connecting straight to that south wall. There aren't any breachable walls along the west wall nowadays. As for the south wall, the breachable walls existed in both versions, although there used to be 3 breachable walls in the original, whilst now there's only 2. These breachable walls also lead to the showers nowadays, whilst in the original they led to the motel hallway, because the motel hallway in the original cuts through both the laundry room and the showers. And then the breachable wall on the east wall used to touch the north wall, but now it sits a bit further away from it. Things start getting interesting when we talk about the north wall though, because in the original, this north wall was the exterior wall, with outside being on the other side. Of course, currently this isn't the case though. On the other side of this wall is the motel hallway, and there's a new breachable wall right in the middle of it. This window here is actually breachable in the rework, but of course, it doesn't lead to the laundry room. Instead, this window is the one in the motel hallway right now. The part of the motel hallway near the stairs did change quite a bit, but of course it did, because of the hallways going in completely different directions across both versions. This vending machine is in the same place across both versions, so we can see clearly here where the hallway actually extended out in the original. On the other side of this wall now is the dorms, so you're probably wondering what that looks like in the original. We'll get to that shortly though. Whilst there's a bit of cover in this corner nowadays, there did used to be some cover right in front of the stairs before. This completely stops players getting lines of sight from the stairs to the door of the laundry room. But this prop of course is no longer here in the rework. Last thing to mention about the motel hallway is that the floor was completely breachable across this whole hallway, which isn't the case at all in the rework. We did briefly cover this before though, with the rooms below where the ceiling was breachable. Let's move on to the dorms then, with the biggest change being the fact that it was a lot smaller in the original. Because of that hallway cutting through where the dorms is nowadays, this room was more of an L shape before, whereas now it's a square as that hallway has moved all the way to the north side. We also had breachable walls on both sides leading to this hallway. One breachable wall that definitely didn't used to exist though was this one on the south side leading outside. Yes, this breachable wall actually wasn't a thing in the original. And then the hatch in the floor used to actually be right in front of these breachable walls, but now it's been moved to the corner. I guess they did move this hatch just because they added those breachable walls in. This is what it looks like outside the window. The balcony doesn't actually extend around to the north side in the original, but there wouldn't really be much point in this because that window that leads to the motel hallway nowadays wasn't breachable in the original. And then the last room to check out are the showers, where the only changes really were the doors and breachable walls. The door nowadays that links connector to the showers didn't exist in the original. Also off topic, but this connector room didn't exist in the original, and oh my god, this has to be be the smallest room in the game. Like, this is literally a tiny square. Holy crap. This door wasn't really needed in the original though, because of the hallway being in a different position. So you just had the door that's opposite the laundry room, which nowadays would lead directly to the laundry room. We did have a set of breachable walls where this other door used to be though, and the breachable walls that lead directly to the laundry room nowadays didn't exist in the original. And then the window did change position a tiny bit. The floor in here is completely breachable in the original as well, whilst it's not in the rework. Pretty much all the floor up here was actually breachable in the original, to be honest, which is pretty crazy. And we're finally done checking out the layout. So now let's check out the bomb objectives to see what changed. Two of the bomb objectives in this map completely changed, but all four of them definitely changed the way they played between both versions. Surprisingly though, I would say all four of them are ranked exactly the same across both versions as well, which is actually the order they appear in this list. Laundry and piano room is one of the bomb sites that changed. This actually used to be the laundry and the games room, and I think this objective is considered the best one of the four in both versions, although I really didn't like it in the original. Games room was definitely more defendable back then though, with that window to the outside not existing, whilst piano room on the other hand definitely wouldn't have been defendable at all. It just would have been a really weird site location with those stairs in the same room, but with the rework of the piano room, the objective could easily be moved to the piano room instead. I just felt this site was really weird to defend at the time, especially as both rooms aren't even connected to each other. Personally, I preferred the next one, which is the office and party room, which I believe is considered the second best objective in both versions. The main difference between defending this site in both versions being that breachable wall to the garage not existing. You couldn't easily rotate back from the garage to the office or party room. You had to just go through that office door or window, or loop all the way around the other side of the map. Green bedroom and red bedroom also didn't change, but the names did change of course, those being the nature room and bush ranger room, but again how this objective is played definitely did change. And I think the biggest impact to this objective is the ceiling being breachable above the kitchen, as well as the bathroom being harder to defend because of the ceiling being breachable and the hatch existing in the original. I believe this objective is considered the third best one in both versions. And finally the worst one in both versions in my opinion, the mechanic shop and the kitchen, which is the other objective that changed, and it used to be compressor room and gear store, which nowadays would be just a portion of the mechanic shop. So yeah, this bomb site used to be very small, and it used to be just terrible. I mean, pretty much the whole ceiling in these two rooms was breachable, there was nowhere to hide in here, and there were breachable walls everywhere. It was a really difficult one to defend, and the mechanic shop and kitchen is so much better, but yeah, I still consider it the worst objective that we have at the moment. I definitely think it's more on par now though with the green bedroom and red bedroom compared to how it was back in the day. Now for secure area, two of the four objectives changed. That being the laundry room, which used to be in the dorms, and the mechanic shop, back then being known as the gear store and compressor room, that one used to be in the garage. So yes, this entire garage, because garage used to be one room, not split into garage and bike repair, this whole thing used to be the secure area objective. Hostage, however, only saw one objective change, of course ignoring the name change between nature room and green bedroom. This objective nowadays is in the mechanic shop, but it used to be in the convenience store, which nowadays would be basically where the waiting room is. And we're done! To be honest, I really wasn't expecting this to be pretty much the longest video of this series so far. I don't really remember old Outback much, and I think that's probably because I just didn't really like it. It just felt very weirdly designed and very unbalanced to the point where it's just not that fun. From the first floor having a ridiculous amount of breachable ceilings, to the second floor only having one room that links the two sides of the building together, this map was just strange. I think the only thing that I really liked about this old version was the garage actually. I wouldn't have minded if they kept those two balconies from the old one and put them in a new one, but the other changes to the garage were definitely for the best. The rework of Outback though, it's just okay. Don't love it, don't hate it. I think a lot of people do hate this map, but I think most of us can at least agree that this rework is far superior over the original, and at least none of the aesthetics really changed. That is the end of this one anyway. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.